Moms, and welcome back to Momestly Me. For those of you that don't know, September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because it's something that's very close to our hearts.
Right, so September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And that's not something that that's not something that anybody likes to talk about. But it's also not something that I find a lot of people do talk about. But we both have had experience with all different people in our lives, ages, that have had cancer. But we've also experienced cancer with children. For me, it's one of my sister's best friends. Their daughter, her name is Melissa. She got sick, and she died after a year and a half of treatment, I think. And it was really hard, but she's not my family, so I wasn't as emotionally attached to the situation. Still very attached because I knew her for, a good portion of her life. And she was 4. She was 4 when she died. And one of her baby brothers was born while she was in the hospital. She went to Children's Healthcare of Atlanta here at Eggleston in Atlanta. And she also went to St. Jude's up in Tennessee. In fact, I remember it was Christmas Eve. I think it was Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. One of the doctors said, "We can take you at St. Jude," and flew her and her parents to Tennessee to the hospital in his private jet. They were awesome. And they ended up there's an organization here called Cure that they did a lot with Cure. And they have her name is part of that now, Cure for Childhood Cancer. But we also did a lot of work for St. Jude before I ever found out about Cure. Before Melissa got sick, we did a lot of work for St. Jude when we worked at Chili's, because Chili's restaurant is one of the top donors to St. Jude's hospitals. So they do, in September, every year they do that, and we worked a lot with that. But one of the reasons that it means a lot to us is because of Angel's niece, Carrara.
Yeah. There's been a lot of stops in between these things, because, we were just sitting here getting ready to film, and we couldn't even get ready. It's hard.
It is.
Yeah, so my niece Carrara passed away in April of 2016. She was about 20 months old when she was diagnosed. It was August of 2005. And then she passed away in April the following year in 2006. She was not a super big part of my life before she got sick, but they had, what did my mom say happened before the bruises?
She'd been throwing up.
That's right. She'd been throwing up.
And
Sorry. It's been a lot to kind of...
Her older sister
had a virus. So when they went to the pediatrician about her throwing up, that's right. Mm-hmm. When they had the visit about the throwing up, the pediatrician just told her that it was probably just the virus, that it would clear up on its own. And right after they got home from that, they had bruises on... They were seeing the really dark bruises come up kind of out of nowhere on her face. So they took her to the hospital, and basically when they tested her, they found out that it was at a really bad point, and it was so bad that her first visit to the hospital where she was diagnosed, they did a chemo treatment that day. She became a really, really, really big part of our lives after that. So she was at,
Eggleston?
Well, no, in Augusta.
In Augusta?
The children...
University? or was she at
She was at the MCG.
Medical College of Georgia.
That's it, MCG, the children's section. But anyway, so we were teenagers. We were both in high school when she was sick. But during that time when she was in the hospital, I mean, she was there for a really long time. And she only got to come home like maybe 2 times, I think, and it was for very short periods of time, and then she had to go back. But I remember like she has 2 siblings that were older, a brother and a sister, and they all came and lived with us during like all this stuff that was going on. And my dad and I kind of took on like the parenting roles for them, while my mom kind of took over, being the support that my sister needed and that my niece needed. And I think, her journey was so short, like in the grand scheme of things. But she was so interesting because no matter like how bad things got, and they were bad, it never really seemed to bog her down. She always laughed and danced and played.
Yep. It's like Melissa, when one of the things they post about, Kira posts about her regularly, is when she was at Children's, she'd ride her tricycle up and down the halls, and she would laugh and.
Yeah, Carrara was like that. She was funny. She was just like this sassy little toddler that she was so bossy, and she had this she had this face that when she was mad at you, she would just go like this and she'd kind of growl, and we always thought it was the funniest thing. But one of the things that happened when she was in the hospital was she got a type of staph infection that eventually they had to cut like a huge amount of tissue and stuff from her arm to the point that it was almost to the bone, and it took up a majority of her arm. It was really bad. And my mom said they even talked about like the fact that they may have to take her arm. They weren't sure. And so she ended up, they didn't end up taking her arm, but they, when they would come in and they would change the dressings on it, because they had to do it multiple times, it was really bad. She would just like hold her arm up, and she would try to help them take the bandage off and like put it back on. And the nurses there, I mean, they could not get enough of her. They loved her. A couple years after she had passed away, a couple years after she passed away, one of the nurses came through my line when I worked at Target, and I asked if she remembered who I was, and I told her who I was. And she told me that even after a couple years, however long it had been, this was in like 2007, so I guess it wasn't a couple years. But anyway, she said, she was like, that room is still Carrara's room. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, she just made such an impact on them, I guess, that they just have never forgotten her. Yeah. So she got approved for a bone marrow transplant. So she came up here to Emory in Atlanta to get the bone marrow transplant done. She was up here for a while. I didn't ask my mom exactly when, but I don't remember. But she was up here for a little while, and I remember I'd stayed the night actually at Harry Potter Heather's house, and my and my mom or my aunt or somebody had called, and my aunt was going to come pick me up and take me to Atlanta because things had gotten so bad. So after she had the bone marrow transplant, it was successful. She started to graft new white blood cells. It seemed like things were going to get better. But then her body started to fight the new cells, and she got what's called graft versus host, and it's ultimately what caused her to pass away. And so essentially she just had been fighting. She's such a small little, thing, and she had been fighting for so long that she just couldn't do it anymore. And so essentially she wasn't in, I don't think, an immense amount of pain in the end. I think the way they explained it to us, unless my parents just told me this to make it easier, was that, she essentially kind of went to sleep and then just kind of went into a deeper sleep that she couldn't come out of. And so when my aunt came to pick me up to bring me to Atlanta, the reasoning I didn't know about until after I was already on the way was that my parents were worried I wouldn't get a chance to say goodbye. And so everybody in the family came up, people who hadn't been able to come see her, and people traveled to Atlanta because we lived in a different city then. Yeah. And, so we got to see her, and I, all of us got our opportunity to just be there. in the moment, I guess. And that night we came back home, and by the time it took us to get from the hospital to my sister's house in
like 3 hours away.
Yeah, like 3 hours away, Warrenville, South Carolina. As soon as we got out of the car, my sister got the call that she had passed away. Yeah, it was hard. It's still hard, obviously. Like I was telling Melinda, it's hard because it's not something that I talk about very often, which is on purpose, to be honest. But she was such an amazing kid, like so smart and funny. And I mean, like we have toddlers, like we have children her age, but like, and they definitely have their own personalities, but she was like this 65-year-old Vegas woman, like cigarette in one hand, like she just
Red
had
lipstick,
yeah,
cigarette.
she just had this personality, like, oh, I've got, all these stories to tell you. Like she just was like that. And I remember one of the times that we got to bring her home. It was short-lived, but we took a flashlight. This is kind of bad. It's kind of what you do to cats. We took the flashlight and we put it on the floor in the living room and on her feet in the dark. It was kind of dark. And she would see it and she would like look down and she would like move her feet back. And we spent like hours laughing at her and like playing with her, just doing dumb things like that. And I don't have,
Laughing with her.
Laughing with her, yeah. She thought it was funny. And we, it's crazy because I think one of the times we did get to bring her home was Christmas. I think, I could be wrong. But my mom said before Christmas of that year, so from August to December, her hospital bill was already at $1 million. It's crazy. Like, I don't, and then she passed away in April the following year. So, but she, like, there's like absolutely nothing in the world that can prepare you for that. I mean, we were 16. Is that what you said?
We were 16 and it was spring break.
It was really hard.
It was also Alice's birthday.
My sister's birthday. Yeah, her sweet 16 was the following year. Her sweet 16 marked the 1-year anniversary of the death of our niece. And, I don't have this picture and what I wouldn't give to have it, but one of the things that I remember, she would always come over into like my section of like where I stayed in our house, because we had like a weird setup. It's too much to get into right now, but I didn't have a door, but she would always come over and see what I was doing. And one of the things that I did when she came in was she, for whatever reason, really liked my Letterman jacket. And so I put it on her. And so she'd walk around with this like bulky ass jacket, like just kind of like moving around. But she thought it was the best thing. Like it made her so ridiculously happy. Yeah. And it's like, I try really hard. Like when I talk about her, I try to think about those moments. Like, like I'm glad that my mom made the call to be like, no, Angel, you need to come to Atlanta, because I think that's one of those things that like, if I had missed that, I'd hate myself forever. Like, of course, I was a teenager. I didn't really have the ability to just go to Atlanta and stuff because I was still in school. But it was just one of those things where I'm really glad that was the case, because if that had not been that way, I'd still have a very weird emptiness about it that I don't have to have, thankfully.
We were 17.
17.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We were 16 when she got sick. And
17. Right after she passed away.
It was the end of junior year.
Yeah, because the following year, after I graduated high school, I got my very first tattoo, which was in her memory. So it's a butterfly tattoo, and it's got purple wings. Not anymore. I used to have purple wings, and then it just said
to be recolored.
Yeah, it's also been stretched because of where it is, and I had a baby. But it says Carrara 2006, and like we used to always think it was so funny because like she was at a point where she was still learning a lot. She was so young, and like she couldn't really say a lot of things. But instead of saying like purple, like adults say purple, she would say purple. It was so cute. And she liked butterflies. That was like a thing. And one of her rooms, or her room in the Augusta hospital, was right next to, or she could see the helipad thing that they have on top of the hospital, before they fly in, like burn victims and stuff.
Yeah.
And she called it a helihop. She could never say helicopter. She always called it a helihop. So on her grave marker, there's a helicopter on it. It's really cute. But yeah, it was really hard. It's still really hard. I always tell people, like, when talking about like what that experience was like and like what I learned from it is like, I think that her being who she was and being in my life the way she was because she was sick, you know, I learned a lot as a 16, 17-year-old girl. I learned a lot about love and what love feels like when it's just so real and genuine and true. And it makes it hard to think about sometimes, because even though it's been so long since she passed away, it's like that pain of that loss is like just as fresh as it was yesterday. And there is no way to remove the image of your mind of what it looks like to see a child-sized casket. So that is something that, like, it can be 50 years. I'll never forget what that felt like.
But you know what? You were amazing that day. She was up there and she, did you read a poem?
Yeah, something I wrote.
Yep. And she didn't cry a single time.
I don't know how. Oh, I do know how. So, side angry rant about the day of the funeral. Part of the reason I was able to get through that is because my high school ex-boyfriend brought his new girlfriend to my niece's funeral. So I was I was in so many places that I think I chose to focus on the anger, and that made it easier. But you know, and I did okay until we went to the gravesite. But then they also played the Wiggles, because that was something that she loved. And it's weird because, you know, when you think of kids songs and you think about like songs that kids love to sing and dance to, you know, and what that means, like when we do Head and Shoulders, everybody in the house is singing Head and Shoulders and doing, there was not a sound in that room. So it was such a weird feeling to listen to a kid's song in that circumstance. It was really crazy. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, the truth of the matter is, if she had never been sick, I probably would have never known her. At least not at the level that I did. You know, we're just not super close to that part of my family. But like, so I am not grateful that she was sick. But I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to be someone to her. Because that's one of the most amazing feelings when I think about all the stuff that we went through and how hard it was on my family. And I don't know. Yeah. My dad is like, I mean, most people, well, a good majority of people like kids, and everybody likes kids, but my dad is amazing with kids, especially babies. He loves babies, and babies love him, except Arya sometimes. But
that was a long time ago.
I know. But I think that was crazy too, because I think one of the other reasons that I felt like I had to be a little bit stronger is because I could see what it did to the people around me. You know, my mom was like, oh my God, like, I don't even know what to describe. She was like a superhero, like the things that she did and the type of rock she had to be for so many people. Like, I don't know how she did it. I really don't.
We found out tonight that apparently she had a few rocks of her own.
Yeah.
Her sister and my mom and somebody else. Who else did she say?
Me.
You. Yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
which she's actually never said to me before. She's never told me that before. I didn't know she felt that way, really. Not that I didn't think that she didn't appreciate the things that I did, but she just like, and she sent me, so whenever Carrara had a procedure, they always got her a new toy to make her feel a little happier afterwards.
Give her comfort.
Yeah, and so one of the ones that she had was this little black and white kitten. I'm not going to try to show you the picture. She's probably not going to be able to see it.
We'll post a picture, though.
But she sent me that, and then she said, the kitty stays where I can get to it at all times. Sometimes I just hold it. And like, it's crazy. And this is the reason this is here. The reason this is here is because this is Carrara's flower. It's a little beat up. But this is something that she had.
Fix that.
And I don't actually, I'm going to be honest, I don't remember where it came from. I just know that it belonged to her, and it was something that she always brought to me and gave me. So I kept it in my room for the longest time before she passed away, and I've had it ever since. I mean, it goes, I mean, anywhere that I've been, this thing has been. And it was actually kind of like, I don't know what the best way to describe the feeling is, but like I brought it out to bring it down here to film with. And Oliver got so excited when he saw it because it's like bright colors and stuff. Yeah. And he was like walking around with it, and it was just such a weird feeling. Like, not a bad feeling, I guess, but just like, it's the last baby to play with this, you know, so.
I think we were teenagers when she passed away.
Yeah.
But then we were definitely adults when little Melissa passed away. But even then, like, thinking about, cause she was best friends with my nephew, Nico. And
Nico.
I remember it was near the end. He did a triathlon at school, and he raised money. And he asked if Melissa could come home now. Because they raised money for St. Jude, which is, I guess, where she was.
Right.
At the time. And because they raised money.
So for him, he was thinking that she was, yeah.
Because they did the triathlon, does she get to come home now? And that's like, I think it's harder to think about now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
As a parent.
Yep. I don't, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I remember one of the things, Tristan was pretty young then too, and he loved her. Like, he was, you know, he played with her a lot, you know, back and forth. And I remember, like, because he was so young and he didn't really understand that these were not maybe the best things to say, you know, when people would talk about her, he had to let them know that she wasn't alive anymore. Because I think for him, it was this weird sense of, you're talking about her like she's still here, and I'm trying to process that she's not.
He was 4.
Yeah. So anytime you said her name or tried to talk about her, like he had to remind you that she was gone.
Because I think that's when they start, so realization of death and what that means starts between like the ages of 4 and 5. And I mean,
he just didn't get like but no. I just remember like how hard that was, because like, you know, my sister, his mom, is like trying to heal in her own ways and accept and all these things, and then she also has to be able to explain to him or hear those things from him, and it just makes it really hard. And I think that it's just one of the, and it's crazy because I actually have, there was another person in my life for a short period of time that was a bit like a nephew, that was 6 years old and got diagnosed with leukemia, but he got through it. I mean, he's in his mid-20s, late 20s now, and is fine as far as I know. Right. And it's, but yeah, Carrara's was really bad, and it's really hard. Like, parents, family members just shouldn't have to bury children. Nope. It's hard.
It is definitely hard. And that's why organizations like Cure and St. Jude are so important and amazing. When children go to St. Jude to be treated, they don't pay a bill. All the monies that St. Jude raises from different fundraisers, the end of September is their big walk. They do a walk every year, which I participated in on our team from Chili's. Yeah. Chili's the entire month of September. Although we went to Chili's the other day and we didn't get to color a pepper. And I think it's probably because of COVID and what's going on right now.
Yeah, and then usually the last day in September is usually Profits Day, where every dollar that Chili's makes goes straight to St. Jude's, and that's literally every dollar. The restaurant does not get any money that day.
They don't. Well, and so you started at Chili's when we were in Augusta. We both worked at Chili's in Augusta. But then when we moved up here and we started working at the Chili's up here, we got really involved with the St. Jude's team. We were co-captains one year.
Well, they took it a little more serious. That's part of it.
They took it very seriously. We did raffles. We did extra things. We did things outside of the restaurant. So we were co-captains one year, and then I think I was the captain the next year. And it was awesome to be able to be such an important part of their cause. We raised thousands of dollars for them. Like I remember when we did the walk.
That includes buying shirts and stuff ourselves.
It does. We didn't bring any of they're chili pepper shirts. They're like black shirts and they have white chili peppers on them and you can color them. If I find pictures, we'll post pictures.
My friend George, I have a picture of this one I know I can send you. Yeah. My friend George hand colored me a Batman themed one for like, I don't know, 50, 60 pounds ago. So it definitely doesn't fit anymore, but like, and I
would color some for people too. I had one that had like the lace. I wasn't
very good at that part.
And the mandala.
Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, those looked really cool.
I do still have that, but you can't see the pattern anymore.
Yeah, so
it's so old.
They're a really good organization.
They really are.
And when Carrara was sick, one of the other things that we kind of benefited from too was we did the Ronald McDonald House. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know they do like a lot of stuff, but like that was where we stayed when we came up here to see her, and it was just something that it's just those pieces like that make everything so much easier for you to just focus on being there for your child, being there for your niece, your sister, your whatever, like just so that you can be there and do those things without having to worry about what are you going to eat, where are you going to stay, how much are you going to have to pay in bills, and
don't worry about it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. And it's hard to even put into words what that does because there are so many people who get sick and can't afford treatment. Like that's a thing, like they would have been in that boat if things had continued and there hadn't been organizations and things in place to help them.
They were there to help.
I mean, $1 million in 4 months. Like,
who even has that kind of money?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Nobody in our lives has that kind of money.
Shit, no.
Like, but we're going to link below Cure, St. Jude, and we'll also link the Ronald McDonald House. Words are hard. Because those are amazing organizations that have definitely made an impact on our lives and the lives of people that we love and care about. And if you feel so inclined, please visit them, make a donation, $5.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Anything that your heart tells you to would be enough. So now that we've cried through a video for you.
Again.
It's a hard topic, but it's important.
It is. It's good to talk about it, I think. Carrara was so special to us and meant so much that like I shouldn't keep her story to myself, if that makes sense. Right. Like it's good to talk about it and share and remember.
And it's hard. You have all these good memories of people that aren't here anymore, and sometimes it's amazing and you can talk about them and they're the happiest moments of your life, and then other times it makes you sad
because you just remember there won't be any more.
So I guess thanks for hanging out with us, being our therapist for today.
If you know somebody or if you've gone through that, share.
Please, let us know
your experiences with us. Even,
if you feel like this is something that somebody that just hearing other people talk about these things will help them, please share it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you're not able to talk about situations like this, feelings like this, sometimes it helps you to hear other people talk about them. So, like this video, if you're so inclined to, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell icon. We are going to post pictures on social media of Carrara, and share some information on there through the rest of the month. Specifically, probably the last week of the month, we'll share a lot of stuff. So follow us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, @MomestlyMe. And we will see you next time. Bye, moms.